Hi, friends. I'm Laura Folkmine with UCC Missoula, and this is evening prayer for the evening of Tuesday, May 26th, 2020. Welcome. I hope you've had a good day or that there have been good parts to your day. This is the time when we gather together online, whether synchronously at the same time or at different times, we are together. And we take some breaths to center into our bodies, to thank our bodies for carrying us through this day and this life, and to begin to let go of the day, to know that we can't go back and redo anything, and we can't go back and undo anything, that it's time to let it go and to release whatever's done and whatever's undone to God, to the universe, to the sacred, knowing that it will be held and cared for and repaired if needed. And we hopefully have the chance to do all of this again tomorrow, maybe with some reflection on what we are hoping to be a little bit more graceful about, at least in my case. I want to start by telling you a little story about my garden from this weekend that maybe will have some meaning to you. And then I'm going to read a poem from Howard Thurman. And then tonight is another night where we get to share in some Taize music that Bernadette Hunter has recorded for us. And that piece is used with permission. We have permission to use the license for that Taize piece from One License, just so you know that. So my story is that last year we learned that the community garden where we had been gardening for the last 4 years was going to close. And that was really disappointing. I was mad. I was sad. I shed some tears over it because, you're in there. You put some blood, sweat, and tears into working that soil, and you get connected to a place when you're down on your knees in the dirt, growing food there. I grew some pretty flowers. I grew some iris that Jean Miller from our church gave to me. I grew some zinnias from seeds my mom gave to me. I grew some really sweet little narcissus daffodils from bulbs that would come up year after year, and people at the garden would compliment me on my daffodils. And I love planting garlic in the fall and seeing it come up in the spring. Garlic and daffodils are just such signs of life and hope. But we had to leave our garden this fall. So actually, I transferred my garlic and put it in a container here in my backyard. And I did the same with a chive plant and some oregano. And all of those are coming up in their containers, which has been so good. We brought a little piece of that garden with us. I did plant some of those narcissus bulbs and they didn't do so great. That is also just the way of gardening. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Conditions change, and especially when you're transplanting, some of us do better in certain conditions than others. Well, we decided this year to put in a raised bed in our backyard, and we placed an order and we got this beautiful raised bed and we brought it home on top of our car. I wasn't sure that was going to work, but my spouse talked me into it and it did. And then we'd made a plan to use some of our garden bed space in the backyard to put that raised bed in. And I was going to have to tear out some of my plants that I'd been nurturing back there. This really cool kind of wild geranium and some more iris that I've been babying along a little. I think some of those were from Jean and some of those were from my mom and some of them were here already. So I had been trying to get those to grow. And what do you know, this season, just in the last week, there were about 10 blooms that came on those iris plants. And I was feeling so bad about moving them, disturbing their growth. And I was really trying to do everything I could to maybe see if I could talk Lori into putting the raised bed elsewhere, to see if I could, bargain for just 6 more inches to leave those plants in there. And really, we had made the best decision we could to put the raised bed in where it needed to be. And so it took me a while to be okay with that decision, to finally just sort of hold my breath and move my plants as I had decided to. And we did that yesterday. And once I got down there in the dirt on my hands and knees, I realized that some of the reason that it was so hard for me to move those plants was all of the other changes that you and we have gone through in the last few months. And I was pouring all of my resistance to these changes and all of my grief into my reticence to move my plants. And down there on my knees, smelling the dirt, and talking to these plants, saying, "You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay." I was actually talking to myself. So I just share that story with you to ask you if maybe something similar might be happening for you, that maybe you're placing some extra emotion into changes, into adjustments you're having to make for the summer. And maybe it's because of the bigger picture that we're still experiencing all of this uncertainty, all of this unknown, and so many changes. And wouldn't you know, I knocked some of those blooms off of the iris as I was moving them. But I brought them inside. Lori said, "Don't you think you could put those in a vase with some water and see what they can do?" And now they're in my sunny windowsill, and they look to me like they are maybe thinking about opening up, which, what a good sign of hope. What a learning from the teachers in the garden, that we can bloom where we're planted. That was the theme of Sunday's worship service, and it sure meant a lot to me. The other thing I was thinking about in this process was the importance of taking time to reflect on what's going on. For me, that's incredibly important, to just slow down, even for a few moments like this, to breathe together, deeply in and slowly out, and settle in to the place where we are, the here and the now, all the things we can't control, and just breathe in this space. And I want to share this reading from Howard Thurman. He was the dean of the chapel at Howard University, active in the civil rights movement, and also a Christian contemplative in his day. Look up Howard Thurman if you don't know his story, and look up some of his readings. They are just so good, even now. So listen to this reading. It's called How Good It Is to Center Down, and it's about centering, finding quiet in the midst of our busyness. How good it is to center down, to sit quietly and see oneself pass by. The streets of our minds seethe with endless traffic. Our spirits resound with clashing, with noisy silences, while something deep within hungers and thirsts for the still moment and the resting lull. With full intensity we seek, ere thicket passes, a fresh sense of order in our living, a direction, a strong, sure purpose that will structure our confusion and bring meaning in our chaos. We look at ourselves in this waiting moment, the kinds of people we are. The questions persist. What are we doing with our lives? What are the motives that order our days? What is the end of our doings? Where are we trying to go? Where do we put the emphasis, and where are our values focused? For what end do we make sacrifices? Where is my treasure, and what do I love most in life? What do I hate most in life? And to what am I true? Over and over the questions beat upon the waiting moment. As we listen, floating up through all of the jangling echoes of our turbulence, there is a sound of another kind, a deeper note, which only the stillness of the heart makes clear. It moves directly to the core of our being. Our questions are answered, our spirits refreshed, and we move back into the traffic of our daily round with the peace of the eternal in our step. How good it is to center down. From Howard Thurman, and that's in the book Meditations of the Heart on page 28, which I bet is fairly easily found, and I recommend it to you. How good it is to center down, and that's what we do in this time together. Breathe in with me a little more. In and out. Finding your center, the quiet space in your heart, in your belly, where things are still amid the chaos. And I invite you to listen to Bernadette sing this Taize piece, and we'll close with that. Friends, good night. Have a good rest. We'll get back to reading our evening prayer on another night. Be well. Rest well, beloved.
My spirit yearns for you in the night, O God. I seek you, O Lord, with all my soul. My spirit yearns for you in the night, O God. I seek you, O Lord, with all my soul. My spirit yearns for you in the night, O God. I seek you, O Lord, with all my soul. My spirit yearns for you in the night, O God. I seek you, O Lord, with all my soul. My spirit yearns for you in the night, O God. I seek you, O Lord, with all my soul. My spirit